Let's make an easy bourbon where all the ingredients come straight from the grocery store. Hey, listen, before we get too far into this video, I really want to get your opinion on something. Now, the way I normally format these videos when I'm doing a mash recipe is I do a part one, which is just the mashing in, and then that's it. And then there's a time between, where it's fermenting and everything. And then I do a part two where I'm doing the distillation, and sometimes I do a part three. And I'm wondering if you might like videos better if it's all just one video. Now, it will mean that these videos are longer than what I normally put out, but it will be start to finish, maybe sometimes not including the aging, because sometimes the aging can take months, even years in some cases. And so leave in the comments, if you don't mind, which format do you prefer? The part one, part two videos, it means I come out with more videos more often because, there's two videos for every mash that I do. YouTube algorithm likes that better. But my suspicion is, as a viewer, you would probably prefer all of it in one video, and I'll do that. Just let me know in the comments what you prefer. This video here is a start to finish video. It includes the fermentation and the distillation. So let me know what you think. It would really help me out. Thanks. Let's get back to it. What I found at the grocery store are two types of cereal. One is a generic Frosted Flakes. I chose that because it's mostly made out of corn. And then I also found a generic Raisin Bran. Chose that because it is mostly made from wheat. And I did look at the ingredients labels because I wanted to check on a few things. Number one, I wanted to check on the preservatives, and I didn't find any gnarly preservatives in these. Dry cereals usually don't need a lot of preservatives, and so I think they used a citric acid or a folic acid, which is not going to bother our fermentation, so we don't have to worry about that. I also wanted to look at the sugars, and what I found I'm going to use 2 bags of this, which is about 7 pounds, and I'm going to use 2 bags of the Raisin Bran, which is about 5 pounds, for a total of 12 pounds of solids. And I also wanted to check on the amount of sugar that is in the cereal. Now, I'm going to be adding regular old table sugar to get my specific gravity up. But I wanted to see just how much sugar is in there. And so with all the 4 bags of cereal that I'm going to be adding, I'm adding about 4 more pounds of sugar. Now, I don't know if those sugars are fermentable sugars or not. My suspicion is it is some portion of those sugars is going to be unfermentable sugars, and that's okay. I'm also going to be using just a regular bread yeast that I can get at the store, and this is a Red Star brand active dry yeast, and I'm going to be using 25 pounds of table sugar. Now, if I include the sugar that's in the bags and the 25 pounds of sugar, that's going to give me a starting gravity of a 1.100. Now, that's about 13% ABV if it finishes all the way out to 1. My suspicion is also that the bread yeast may not ferment all the way to 13%. And so that plus the fact that I probably have some unfermentable sugars in this cereal is going to mean that my product, my fermentation is unlikely. It's unlikely that it's going to finish all the way out to 1.000. And that's okay. It's still going to taste pretty good, I think. We're going to find out for sure. But anyway, that's what I'm using. 7 pounds Frosted Flakes. 5 pounds Raisin Bran, bread yeast, and 25 pounds of sugar. Now let's mash it in. So what's even more interesting about this recipe and why it is so easy is not only are we using ingredients that we got from the grocery store, just basic cereal, it is also a no-cook mash, meaning we don't have to heat this up to 160 or 190 in some cases. We just have to warm the water up to above the yeast temperature. And the reason for that is the cereals are highly processed. They've been gelatinized. We don't have to break the starches or anything like that. So I'm sure you've had cereal and you notice how quickly the cereal gets soggy when it's in the milk. Well, that's going to happen in the water, and it's because of the pre-gelatinized and dehydrated processing that they use to make the cereal. And all we really have to do is rehydrate it. So it makes it really easy, no cooking. So I'm going to be using this 15-gallon fermenter. I've got the fermenting parts, the fermenter parts kit in this, so that I'm going to leave all the cereal in here through fermentation. When it's done, I'm just going to open the valve on the bottom, drain all the liquid off, leave all the cereal in here and toss it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put maybe 5 or 6 gallons of just hot water from the sink in here. Then I'm going to add the cereals and the sugar, and then I'm going to fill it up to about yay much. I just want to get as much as I can. It's going to probably be 13 and a half gallons of water that I'm going to be adding. So let me get to that real quick. I'll come right back. Okay, so I've got like 6 gallons in there, I think. Didn't measure it, just poured some in. I'm about to here-ish. And first I'm going to put in all the cereal. Now, some people might want to crush this cereal up and get it into smaller pieces before they put it in. I don't feel like that's necessary. We are just using this cereal for the flavor from the corn and the wheat. It also has some malted barley extract. So all we really want is that flavor. And it's going to soak into this water, whether we crush it or whether we don't. So let's keep this recipe simple. We're not even going to crush this. We're just going to put it in there. 2 bags of the Raisin Bran, or roughly 5 pounds. And 2 large bags of the generic Frosted Flakes, and it's about 7 pounds. Now, all I'm going to do is use my hand and kind of push this into the water, stir it up a little bit with my hand, and there's not going to be anything more than that I need to do for the cereal. And that smells pretty good already. It smells like breakfast. Now, as far as the sugar, I'm not going to just dump the sugar in because I want it good and dissolved. So I'm going to do that separately in a 5-gallon bucket. It's 25 pounds. It's quite a bit of sugar, so I'm going to do 2 buckets of it to make it easy. And I'll just use warm water from the tap. That's all I'm going to do. Now I'm just going to eyeball this and put about half the sugar in this 4 gallons of water. And I'm just going to stir that with my spoon until it's all dissolved. And then I'm just going to pour it in there on top of the cereal. And then I'm going to do it one more time with the remainder of the sugar. So as you can see, we got the mash ready. This was so easy. No cooking, just dumping cereal in, no grinding grains, nothing. Super easy. And now I'm just going to let the temperature go down to, like 95 degrees. I'll pitch the yeast, and I'm, again, just using regular bread yeast. And then we'll let that ferment out 7-10 days, depending on how long it takes, who knows, and then we'll distill it. So the breakfast cereal bourbon fermentation is complete, and it's time to strain out all the liquid. The cereal got so soft and gooey that it completely clogged up the bazooka filters in the fermenter kit, so I've had to strain it out by hand. And I decided I was going to go ahead and press this out with the Hillbilly Fruit Press 3000. So I've got this bag. I'm going to put it in the bucket. And I just want to see how much more of that liquid I can get out. Okay. And if you have not seen the DIY fruit press, I will put a video card up so you can find it. This was a pretty easy build, very inexpensive because I had a lot of the parts. And I just want to press this out. So the wash has sat overnight. I'm ready to put it in the still and run it today. I'm going to be running on the 15-gallon traditional from Copper Still Co. And I think this still is going to be just right for this bourbon mash, this breakfast cereal bourbon mash. So the way I like to start is I fill the still, I go ahead and turn the heat on as I'm connecting all the different parts and getting the still set up to run. That way I'm kind of doing double duty. Things are heating up as I'm setting up. And I can, you know, check for leaks on my water supply and all of that. Also, I was really kind of surprised at how this wash tastes after fermentation. It's got a very soft, kind of sour, sweet taste, and I think that's going to turn into a pretty good whiskey. This thing is surprising me so far. We'll see on the final product, but let's go ahead and get things set up. And I'm just using a pond pump in the bucket to just pump the water in. This has a pretty small opening, so it's kind of hard to just pour in straight from a bucket, which is why I'm using the pump. Makes it a lot easier. I filled up, looking inside, you can see the ribs, and so I make the assumption that this is 5 gallons, this is 10 gallons, and this is 15 gallons. And I filled up to about right here. So I'm 10 gallons or slightly over in the still. Now let's get it set up and start running. So the flame is on, and I've got plenty of time to get this all set up. It doesn't take very long. So I forgot to hit the record button when I started doing the tasting, but I ended up with these jars over here. I'm definitely keeping, this is going to be a maybe. I'm not going to, it's close. I am aging this on oak, so I do, this has some heads in it, but I do want some of the heads in my final distillate because it does help with the aging when I'm aging on oak. It seems to, I don't know, it just helps. But anyway, this one's a maybe at the moment. So I'm going to blend all the stuff that I'm keeping together, and then I'm going to smell and taste it, and then I'll decide if this jar is going on. These jars over here are definitely not going in. They'll go into the faints. So now I'm going to blend all this together and see what the proof is. Okay, so I'm going to end up with more than a gallon, so I'm going to go get another gallon jug. Okay, and I'm going to mix this up simply by pouring back and forth into these jars. And that will homogenize all these different jars into one proof. And of course, you know me, I got to spill something or it just ain't right. Oh, there we go. There was half a pint. So this is proofing out right now at about 126. You know what? That's good enough. And This is really, really soft. This is going to be really good, but I do think I need a little bit more, a touch more of the heads. So I am going to add this in. And then what I will, my plan being that a little extra of the heads will help the aging process, and then also the aging process will soften those heads back down. So that's my plan. We'll see how it works. And it still doesn't look like I got quite enough to fill a bad motivator barrel, which is what I'm wanting to age with next. But yeah, I've got to have enough to fill the barrel. I don't want to just do a partial aging. I don't want to just partially fill a bad motivator barrel, but this is not going to be enough. So once again, I'm going to have to wait on the bad mo barrel. But I do know that I've got a 40-gallon batch of corn liquor coming in a couple of weeks, ready to run. And so I'll get plenty of product out of that to age in a bad motivator barrel. So that's probably what I'll end up doing with the bad mo barrel. Golly, if there's anything left when I'm done mixing this up, I will, age some of this also. Geez, man. I might be getting worse about spilling stuff. So I ended up with a little bit over a gallon. So like a gallon and maybe a quart or about a quart. And so I'm definitely going to age some of this. And I want to age some with oak sticks. And, I'll probably age some of this with some more of the hillbilly glass barrels, the little oak lids, because those are working really well on the last batch that I started. Now they're not quite done, so I can't really taste it yet, but lots of great color coming through with those. So I think I'm going to use some of those to age some of this also. This batch really surprised me. I did not expect for it to come out as good as it has come out. It's just a cereal. And, kind of just a fun mash to make. And if it turns out, it turns out. And if it doesn't, fine. But by the smell and the taste of this, it's going to be pretty daggum good. It's very gentle. And I expected it to be much more harsh than it is. But it's soft. And, like I've said before, I'm not really good at the descriptive words for what I'm tasting and everything, but I think this is going to be pretty good. I'm excited to age some of it. Congratulations if you made it this far to the video, and if you like these kind of moonshine videos, check out my playlist, and YouTube thinks you'll like this video. See you next time.